beginning of a game, Bob, was not even a board game. Is that what he originally created then?
Yes, this is Lexico. It's a predecessor to Scrabble. It was played with letter tiles, somewhat similar to the current Scrabble tiles.
And these originally would have been handmade by him, handcrafted?
Yes, I think he did it in his living room.
For his new game to work, Alfred had to figure out how frequent and therefore how valuable each letter of the alphabet was. And when he realized there was almost no research on letter frequency, he did something that stuns professional linguists to this day. He figured out how many points each letter should score. And he did it by simply lifting his daily copy of the New York Times and beginning to count the A's, B's, C's, D's, E's, F's, G, H, I, J, K, L.
So he went about it in a very sophisticated way, almost scientific way, really, albeit that he took it out of newspapers, but he went about it meticulously.
It was a long process of trial and error. He would come up with a version of the game, and then he would play it with his wife and with his nieces and with other people in the community.
The 1930s recession proved to be a good time for board game inventors, as Monopoly was launched in 1935 and went on to become a craze around the world. Noting this and the success of newspaper crosswords, Alfred added a board to his game and renamed it Crisscross Words. Full of hope, he sent his word game off to the big toy companies, but one after another they rejected the game and refused to mass produce it. Tired of making handmade sets and disappointed by the responses, Alfred gave up on his game and managed to get his job back. 10 long years later, in 1947, a businessman called James Bruno picked up the phone, declared himself a fan, and took out his checkbook. And the first thing he did was to change the name of Alfred's game from Crisscross Words to Scrabble. Their big break came in 1952, when the chairman of Macy's, New York's most famous store, chanced upon a Scrabble set while on vacation. With the zeal of a convert, he came back to work and was shocked to find that they didn't stock the game. He instantly placed a huge order, and within months, Scrabble had taken off. And it proved to be the perfect game for 1950s suburban America.
There was a real craze for drinking in the home. There perhaps would be a games room. It would be distinct from the dining room for inviting the neighbours in, perhaps mixing a martini, and then settling down to a game of Scrabble following that.
Everyone was playing Scrabble. By 1954, the game was selling nearly 4 million sets a year.
Do you think he could ever have foreseen just what's happened to this game, the way it's taken off in the most extraordinary way?
He knew that he had invented a good game. He knew that it was something that worked and was an interesting and playable game. But I don't think he ever anticipated that it would have the success that it did. I think he was really pretty blown away when the game took off in the 1950s.
Did Alfred's lifestyle change at all with success? I mean, did he sort of move out of Jacksonville? Did he sort of become buy himself a few nice treats and big car?
Well, the royalties that he started to receive from Scrabble were not that great, but the game was so popular that he did start receiving some substantial income. And that, among other things, enabled him to repurchase the family homestead that had passed out of the family in the 1800s. He was able to acquire it back.
And that house is this house?
It's this house, yes.
Alfred Moshe Butts spent his final years back in his family homestead. He died in 1993, and until the end, the little architect was very proud of the game he'd built and thrilled at the pleasure it gave to people all around the world. To this day, New York remains the spiritual home of Scrabble. And here, in a shady corner of Washington Square Park, there's been a regular game for the past 18 years. All summer long, park players compete with one another, or occasionally hustle smart-ass tourists who are foolish enough to challenge them to a cash game. But the real triple-word action doesn't take place in parks, schools, or parlors. In a conference center in Dayton, Ohio, they're preparing to host the annual US National Scrabble Championships. 500 word freaks from small towns and American suburbs see the tournament as their big chance to show off their extraordinary vocabulary.
I like to make short, flashy words.
I guess I would say I'm a little better than my brother, but it could be debated.
Yeah, I debate that.
My dad is my coach.
There's a number of people who sort of look at him and go, "How old are you?" And they think it's really cute and really precious. And then he sits down and he, cleans the table with them.
Most times I win.
To play in a tournament is to play under huge pressure. Unlike living room Scrabble, each player only has 25 minutes to play all their tiles from the moment they start their clock.
If you listen, you can hear the tile bag shaking. It's like the sound of rattlesnakes. Who are the people we see here? What's the age range? What's the history of all these people?
Well, these people, in some ways, they transcend any stereotype whatsoever. Like the game itself, they're a tableau of wondrous, variety. Here at this particular room, there's 500 people from the age of 10 years old to a woman in her 90s. Everything in between, every possible profession, ethnicity, it's in this room, which is great, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But they also have all the other things in common about, their love of the game.
We love words. We sit at the table and we said, oh, I had, AEI and PPS, and, oh, I was able to play pine sap, but, that's the anagram of nappies, but don't play nappies because it takes the T.
I don't mind being a nerd. I think that's a part of my personality. Sometimes when I'm at work and I get talking about Scrabble, I don't want to stop, and my coworkers are not usually that interested, but I want to talk about it anyway.
A lot of eccentric people, let's be polite, who play at my level, but it's everybody, I'm from the hood.
I feel a bit like I was the invigilator at the examination.
When the game starts, a reverential silence fills the hall as the players are lost in thought.
When the tournament's about to start, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear the clickety-clackety tiles. I can't wait to score my first bingo.
Usually when I'm playing, nothing else exists. Any other problems I might have, financial problems, problems at work, problems in my personal life, simply do not exist.
My prayer was, Lord, help me to think clearly, not overlook things that are coming along during this game. That's a typical thought that I have.
If I draw and instantly I see like a crazy bingo, I'll spend a long time looking at the board, even though I know there's like no way it's gonna fit. I'm like, you gotta fit somewhere.
But don't be deceived by the studious atmosphere, because tournament Scrabble is utterly vicious.
When your opponent is down, kick them.
And all of a sudden something pops out at me, and I quick slam it down like I'm shaking. And I slam my clock and announce my score with a plum, and I'm like, I'm gonna win this game now, haha. I'm awesome.
There is a certain amount of blood when it comes to Scrabble, and if you can take that advantage and enlarge your spread, that's what you should do.
With over $40,000 of prize money to be won, tournament rules are strictly enforced. There are programs to check words, and referees keep a beady eye out for Scrabble skullduggery.
This woman is notorious. I know what I'm talking about. Please just let me deal with him.
What are the big sort of scandals in the Scrabble world?
There are always people who are accused of doing fishy things like cheating, hiding tiles.
Have you caught anyone cheating lately?
We found a cheat about a month ago at a tournament I was working.
Who was this person?
This person was an 80-year-old female.
What?
Yes, an 80-year-old female who was accused of palming tiles, which is you're withholding tiles from the beginning of the game. You didn't put them in the bag, and you've kept them for strategic purposes later on.
So you, by and large, you have to trust everyone, do you?
Yeah, Scrabble operates on the honor system in many ways, and so when people do cheat, it's a real kick in the groin because it affects the whole honor system of the tournament.
After 5 long days of scrabbling, the players know if they're in with a chance of a cash prize.
It's getting really tense at this stage.
Just play smart. I'll be out there. No phonies, okay? He does not get nervous. He just plays the game. Tile by tile, rack by rack. I think I have all the anxiety for everybody. I have enough for everyone. He just won that last round. He knocked off the number 3 seed. When he comes out, he says, I just won by 186 points. It's like, whoa, it's great. It's awesome.
And in the top division, the entire tournament has gone to the final game.
You see that man over there? His name is Nigel Richards. Now, he is one of the great characters of Scrabble, but he won't talk to us at all. He's sort of the Terminator. He sort of is out to win and may well win this tournament.
After 31 games, reigning champion Nigel takes on the All-American challenger, Dave Wiegand.
My name's Chris Wiegand, and I'm Dave Wiegand's wife. And they're playing for the championship right now, and my husband's ahead by only a little, and it's making me very nervous. So they're playing for $10,000 and $5,000.
In a surreal and silent atmosphere, Dave Wiegand plays Opaker, meaning more opaque, and takes the American championship. The division winners claim their prizes, and the losers pack away their tile bags for another year.
Well, the good news is I was about to quit Scrabble for the 77th time yesterday, but won the last game, and so I think that's God's way of just torturing me.
I'm very happy. My rating's going to go up, and maybe I'll be there next year.
Excellent. I'm really, really happy.
We don't know for sure what place he came in, and we don't even know. His brother in New York has been following it online and called me and said, I think if he gets 5th, it might be $450.
And they get 10%.
10%.
It's not exactly we get 10%. You
So
pay 10% toward
his
your entry
towards
and all
entry,
of that.
and his hotel,
It's
and
your
his
way of
food,
contributing.
and his airfare.
A little bit.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it, that $45.
To win a Scrabble tournament, you need a vast and varied word knowledge. The top players know all the colourful adjectives, all the risque street slang, and the most obscure medical terms. So, I was anticipating an eloquent and expressive speech from the winner.
It's been a lot of fun this week, and I hope to see all of you back for many joyous championships in the future. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Scrabble has always been sold as a game for word lovers, but the disappointing truth is that many of the top players don't know or care about the meaning of the words.